We are now recording. Just started recording. Alright, so we've got a way to create tasks. We can find all tasks. We can find a task by its ID. We still need to be able to update a task if somebody wants to do that, and delete a task. So what else do we need to do? Let's start working with one of those two in this controller here. Which one do you all want to do first? Let's figure out how to delete stuff. Sure. So if we want to delete, let's make that delete function right here. It takes a request and response just like the others do.
Wait, were we doing delete first?
Yep.
Okay.
We can even stub in update if you'd like. We can put that right there. Request and response, that's fine.
So delete, you'll do task.remove.
Yeah, so task.remove, right?
Parentheses. Wait, delete. And apply the ID.
Yes.
Put ID.
Okay. So we want to find something by its ID. We're assuming this is something like this, in a route like /tasks/123/ and that's it, right? And this will be like an app.delete, and it'll look it'll look something like this, right? So we're assuming we're getting this ID out, right? That's what this is. So how do I?
Then you need the request.param.
Exactly. Request params.id. Cool. What's our callback gonna do?
Error.
Yeah.
So the remove method already does the find as well, so we don't have to find it first and then remove it.
I would do that. Actually, we do have to do that. Thank you for bringing that up.
We do.
Well,
We should do that.
Find from that ID?
Well, there's something really useful I'm going to show you that he just mentioned. But assuming we don't do that, here's what the issue will be if we don't. So if we do have an error, right? If we have an error, then let's do something about it.
Return.
Okay. res.status.json. All right. So maybe we failed to find your task. So we've been sticking with the convention of error, colon, and then whatever the MongoDB error is, and then we define our own, right? So message. We can be like failed to remove task, and then whatever your ID is, right? So we can grab this, glue it onto the end of that here, and we'll see that in Angular. Right, so we're saying we didn't find or delete this task properly. Otherwise, what do we want to do?
Render. Direct.
Okay, return res dot something. Yeah, so what are we sending back as JSON now? Now what are we going to send back? This is the problem. Now we don't have it. But where does that come from? Can we just do... We don't actually have a reference to the task here, right? We don't have like comma task. It doesn't give us this. But what if we wanted the whole object back on our front end? Just like we did when we created something. Yeah, we can find it before we remove it. If we find it and then we remove it, like this, here's the benefit. First, we need to say, do the same thing, look for it, by its request params ID, right? And we can still have this callback right here. Now we have error and task, and inside of this whole thing, we're going to grab this task remove and just shift it up here and push it and tab it in. So now we have this whole thing, right?
So now in the return res.json, you can list it.
Oh, this one should still be capital. So we're actually nesting two queries here. So we have this first one to say, hey, do we even have this thing? Are we allowed to delete it? Does it exist? That's what this outer one is now doing. So the benefit of this, though, is if we do find it, then we can say, okay, now that we know it exists, remove it right here. And if we do remove it successfully, now because we have this task up here, right, by this find one, we can actually return that task we removed as a JSON object, because we might want to do that in Angular. Now we have that whole object. We don't just have an ID. We have that whole thing we just removed from our database.
You can flash that.
You deleted this and this.
Later in Angular, we can use that whole object rather than just an ID to remove it possibly from a list of tasks that we're going to display, which will make it really, I guess, what's the word? Asynchronous? You'll see how this will work later, because the problem is if we didn't do that, it would update on our backend, but we wouldn't see that change happen in Angular. If we do this, then we actually will see that, because we can remove that object.
Refresh for it to be be gone.
Exactly. That's exactly what would happen. So now we're gonna try to let's keep this find one, but now we have to check if that task exists before we can run this remove. So now we can say something like, yeah, so if we found the task, then we can do all this stuff. Then we will remove this task within that if, for example. And you don't have to do this. This is actually optional. It's just actually really, really useful. If we don't find it way down here, now we can also say we failed to find this task, for example. Where in this case, we failed to remove the task. In this case, we failed to actually find it. So now we can say return this as JSON. And we'll chuck just an object in here. And it's basically going to be identical to this one right here. So we're going to say status. And then we'll give you an actual 404 and stick to the convention. So we have error. Let me scroll down some. Here we go. So this error is now going to be this outer error, this outer one from the find one. So it's going to be like, we didn't find this. Mongo will say that it didn't find it.
Failed to find the task.
Correct. So we can say failed to find task and then, you know, the name of that one task or the ID or something. So now we have all this in our delete. This is like the only case where you would want to have like a nested query. Otherwise, this is a terrible idea because you don't want to nest queries if you don't have to.
Delete a route the whole time.
Oh, you don't have to do this. There's probably a find one and remove out there.
Messages, errors that you put in.
Well,
I
no-
use a differently saying that destroy, request, respond, and then task dash remove ID, request param ID as you did it.
Uh-huh.
But then I'm doing response at JSON. And right away saying message user has been deleted. Can I do it that way?
Yeah, absolutely. That's totally fine. You don't even need this outer query here. We can get rid of this whole outer query. I just think it's super useful to have the whole object returned via on our front end. You'll see how this might be useful later. This task here. So yeah, let's go to our route and see if we can delete. Does anyone have any questions about why I did it that way or what the point of it is? All right, cool. All right, so let's go to our routes.
If you were to be using a linter, it would have prompted you to handle every single error alone. Because I guess that's a convention that they go by, that you are supposed to be having an error for that and then another error
Yeah.
for results.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It would definitely say that. It would probably be like red here and
Yeah.
in all of these
And then
places.
it's expected error to be handled.
Yeah. So we've got this delete. Let's take a look at our route. So we want this to actually be, let's try to use the delete method. It's an actual delete HTTP method. And we're going to use the same exact URL as what we did for find by ID. It's just now this one is a delete method. So we're going to call delete here, right? So let's go ahead and test this by via Postman. And we'll try to delete one by its ID. So let's tab over to Postman. I'll clear our console. Let's grab this ID we already had. We actually don't have to change anything except the type of request. We'll make this a delete here. And hopefully it should have this exact same thing here because we returned that whole task. If we didn't add that outer query, we wouldn't get the whole task back. So if I click send, we should get this whole task. So it actually removed this whole thing, but we got this whole object. Whereas before, if I didn't do that, it would look like this. Well, it would just have this ID only, essentially.
And now we have 4.
But now we have all of this information about the thing we removed, which is good. So now we can mess with that on Angular if we need to.
Go to post.
Huh?
Well, on the post, we only have 4 now in our.
Yes, exactly. So let's go to our get and go to tasks, and we should have one less than we did before. So let's do that. Send. Now we have, how many things do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. So it actually worked. So it removed it from all of our tasks. That's fantastic. And also it keeps track of like any requests you made over here, Postman. It's kind of nice. Shows you like history. I'm going to clear it actually. There's a bunch of junk over there. All right, so what's the last thing we need to do? The last method, yeah. So update. So if you were confused by update and you didn't know how it works, because I don't think we actually covered this as a group, we're going to do that right now. So we're going to figure out how to update a task.
So you put update.
Okay. So task, yeah, task.update. Okay.
And then still with the params. Same thing as with the deleted.
Yeah, so it's like the syntax is identical, almost the same, except we're going to have two objects here, right? The first is going to be the thing we're looking for. This is going to be the new updated content here. And the third is going to be also a callback. So there's a couple more things involved with update. But you can also do it with find one and then just change stuff manually and then save. I actually prefer that method. But we're going to use update. So what are we looking for here? Yeah, so same thing. Correct. And then over here, this is going to be the stuff we want to update for this one object, right? So what should I put in here?
So wouldn't it still, you would need to do it from the body, the title?
So the title. So how do I set that and not overwrite the previous content, if you remember?
Set.
Request that body.
The money sign?
Yeah, so money sign, and then what?
Dot set
Set.
or set.
Set, okay. And then do I need colon? And then more braces.
More racing.
So look how gross that is. Let's line break this. Let's line break it so it doesn't look like our eyes are in pain. So that looks a little nicer, not really. Let's put all these arguments on different lines. There we go. There we go. So inside of set, what do I want to do here?
Title
Task.title, like this.
equals.
Is that going to work?
You don't have task.
No, you need a squig. Oh, you have a squiggly, and
Just
then
do
you need
title
title,
Title, colon,
colon, and then quotes.
okay, rec dot,
Body dot title.
right, correct. So we want to set the title. We don't want to remove the old stuff, right? We want to keep the original content. We just want to update this title, because if we didn't use set, right, remember what happens? It just deletes everything about it.
But can we do this task find by ID and then update?
You can. That's way easier. It's actually way, way easier. So we'll do it this way, and then I'll show you the way Malik is talking about in a second.
Because that-
For now,
Would you also want to maybe update the completed?
sure,
So you can change it from completed to, or not completed to completed?
correct. Yeah, so let's do that. Let's actually line break it again, because this is very ugly. What else did we have? We have title.
Description?
Yeah, description. Let's do that here, assuming they changed it. Rec.body.description. Okay, and then we had completed, right? So let's do that one. So who agrees that this looks atrocious? If you agree, let's do it a different way, because now my eyes hurt. So if you want to do this a cleaner way that makes a little more sense, at least to me, here's what you can do. We're going to leave this. I'm going to comment it, and we're going to show you a different way. Comment that. We can leave that. And we're going to do a task.findOne, just a normal find one by the thing we're looking for. Yeah. And then we'll have our callback. And this is error and then task. So if we found it, then we'll mess with it. We'll update it. If we found it, great. If not, let's return an error. This will be a 404, and then we'll just do the same thing. Say error, and then error. Message, and then failed to find task. And then, yeah, well, we're actually doing find one first. Otherwise, I would have said like
So it's a
update.
nested query as well?
Yeah, so this will be kind of nested. So we're going to look for this task, right? We have this task here. So here's how you can do this now. So we have the original task and all of the information about it, right? So now, here's where it gets really nice. Because you can just say task dot, and then whatever you want to set. Title equals request dot body dot title.
Oh,
Isn't that way nicer? Task dot description equals, whoa, not that. Request dot body dot description. Right, so there's a couple ways you can do it. There's even a find by ID and update, like Malika said. There's like a whole bunch of them.
That is,
I just do task find by ID and then update.
I see.
So we're doing fast the ID
I see. Yeah, so there's a couple of ways to update stuff, essentially. Like, pick one that you think looks the nicest and makes sense in your brain. That's what I would do. And then let's assume they've changed completed as well, or if they gave us something that was, a Boolean. But what if they didn't give us any of this stuff? What if they failed to give us a title or description and it was blank? Isn't that an issue? So how can we prevent that? There's,
Or
yeah, so we could just put in an or here. So this is going to be gross, but what we're going to do is this. Task.title. So this might look atrocious as well, but what happens now is that if request.body, this is essentially an if statement here. It says if request body title is null, then use this. Then use title. Use what it was before. Otherwise, just use this, the new one.
it
So
makes
it's-
it bad, but it works.
Yeah, it'll work great. It's not very pretty, but it'll do what we want. I don't really care if it's not pretty. Request dot, and then this will be body dot completed. And we've created, hopefully, a solid, after this point, JSON API. So we're done with our backend and everything. Yeah, good point. You might want to save that stuff, all the things we just updated. So let's save it. Error. All right. So what do we want to do here?
That's an error.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we say.
So if error,
Then
yeah, return res.status.json. This will be like a, let's do like a 403, because you're not really, we didn't not find something. Somebody just put stuff in wrong. So let's go with like a 403. Doesn't really matter. Error, and then this will be the new errors that somebody made after updating. We can put whatever we feel like here. Fail to update task, and then whatever this task ID is. Right? So is everyone with me?
yes.
Okay.
One question.
Yes.
Why do you have to enter a request.body twice?
Where are we doing that? Right here?
Task not completed equals request.body or request.body.
Oh, so basically this says if you don't actually go ahead. What do you think?
What essentially what
No,
it's saying is
that's supposed to be titled.
Oh, I did do that twice.
I mean a task.
My bad. Good call.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. See?
I mean, can't you use request.body completed because it's just going to then send it to default?
No.
Right.
Or,
Because
well, it would be or the same thing.
Oh, the same.
They're both the same thing.
Yeah.
so essentially the double line after it's like an if statement. So if they don't send information with that,
Set it to what it was before.
set it to what it was before rather than just a blank.
Correct. So that way they can't make errors. They're not allowed. We've coded this so amazingly that they can't break our stuff.
Yeah, you don't want the database breaking in the middle.
Yeah. So
I like that.
if there's not a problem, what should we do when we save this task?
We
Right
send them
here.
Send them the task.
Yeah, give it back to them. Give them back the new updated task. Correct. So we can just put task here. We'll give you back the newly updated stuff.
200.
Yeah, we'll give you like a 200. What is the what is like 218 for I'm a little teapot? We're gonna do it just so you guys can see how dumb it is. Let's look this up. I'm a little, yeah, how nice it is. Error code. What is this? 418. Okay. We're gonna do it. So when you update your tasks successfully, we'll tell you about teapots. We'll let you know that. Right, so we save your task, we let you know if there's problems with it, and we give you back the newly updated stuff. So let's test it. And then after this, we're done. Then we get to touch Angular, which will be joyous. A joyous time for everyone involved.
So Postman and this one is put.
Yeah, so I'm going to actually get rid of a lot of this comment stuff we had. I commented out this junk here. By the way, again, I want to make this clear, like, just because I'm doing all backend first and all routes and all this junk, you don't have to do that. You can do like one backend route, one controller method, then test that via Angular. If you like that style, do that. Because that's what Spiros does in one of his videos, and it makes more sense to some people that way. Do whatever makes sense to you. So let's go test this thing. let's see if we can update, for example, let's pick one of these IDs. Did I? No. We did not create a route for it, did we? We did not. So what kind of request is this going to be?
Put
Yeah, it should be a put. We could use a post.
It's the same thing like
But if we make it a put, then we can keep this restful. We can make it all the same method or the same route name.
Why can't you do it update?
You could call it /update.
No, I mean app.update.
Oh, is that a thing?
Is it?
I don't think that's a. I don't know if that's a method, but put is what you use to like update. So we call this task controller.update. Maybe we could call it put or something. If we called it like put, that might make sense, but update makes way more sense to me. So there's our controller. So we've done a full JSON API, and you know, has anyone used the CLI that I made by any chance?
Demeanor, yeah.
Okay, so basically it does this whole thing for you. All of what we just did, it does that automatically for you in about 3 seconds. Just saying.
Yeah, try it.
What, everything we just did?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm downloading this thing.
Yeah, so it'll make all of your routes, it'll make a controller for you and a model for you. It'll make all CRUD methods for that one model right away.
NPM install.
So you're pretty much getting right to
at
work.
latest.
Right.
Yeah, you can start with Angular right away with it, which is cool, and I'll probably make it do an Angular thing later, but for now it does all backend. You kind of have to tweak it a little, but it saves a lot of time. Like, a lot. Like, probably as long as we've been doing this. Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. Like half of like I remember my mean black belts. The first 2 hours, you're almost like setting up,
Right.
or like hour and a half.
Exactly.
Setting up, like you're like, all right, I haven't even built the form.
Alright, so let's pick one of these, and we're going to try to update it. So I'm going to grab one of these IDs. We're going to see if our thing even works. It was API/task/ID. Not this again. This is happening again. We're going to do Control-C. And paste it, and make this. Yeah, exactly. So now, if I go back to, because we're actually sending data, we can actually change this here now. So now, for title, if I want to name this something else, what do you all want to name it?
Finish.
Yeah, finished.
Change the size to completed.
Yeah, and then completed can be true. Why is that not linting? False? It doesn't turn colors. I don't know why. But we're going to assume that that is valid. So let's try it. Let's hit send. Look at that. We got a whole object back. Here's the new whole object, right, with the stuff we updated, right? So it says completed true, and title is finished.
Let's check.
I like it.
Go to.
So there's our whole JSON API from scratch. So,
You didn't check if it worked though.
what do you mean?
You gotta go.
Oh, go to all?
Yeah.
All right, let's go to all and see if that's different. API/tasks all. Let's find the one that is different.
Yeah.
Where is it? Yeah, right here. So we got 4 tasks, 3 are identical, and we updated one that's different. Cool. No, wait, no, that one's here. Yeah. All right, so let's see what time we were at, because I kind of want to stop this video and just have these two for whole backend, and then start a new series thing for front end. So I'm going to stop this here.